You're sitting in the dark with your phone lighting up your face. Your thumb hovers over a message you don't want to send. It's not a love letter. It's not even an explanation. It's an apology. Not for something you did, but for something you are. You replay the moment like a crime scene, the tone in your voice, the firmness in your words, the way you held eye contact a second too long. You didn't insult anyone. You didn't threaten anyone. You were just certain. And somewhere along the line, you learned that certainty in a man is suspicious. So you soften it. You add, "I might be wrong." You add a smiley. You add the verbal kneeling. Sorry if that came off harsh. And the sick part is, you feel relief when they accept it. That relief is brain chemistry. That relief is conditioning. That relief is the leash tightening. Because what I'm about to tell you is this: you were not trained to be good. You were trained to be harmless. You grew up believing there was a deal. Be a good man. Be respectful. Be considerate. Don't intimidate. Don't upset anyone. Don't be that guy. And if you follow the rules, you'll be accepted. That's the illusion. Here's the reality. The moment you express the traits that make you useful, decisiveness, competitiveness, direct speech, sexual confidence, a spine, society starts negotiating your masculinity down like it's a dangerous product that needs warning labels. You see it everywhere. Behavioral example number 1. At work, you speak with authority. Later, you're told your energy was too much. Not your content, your presence. Behavioral example number 2. You set a boundary with someone draining you. You're called cold. Behavioral example number 3. You lead in a group project. Someone says you're controlling. Behavioral example number 4. You show ambition. You're told to be humble, but the unambitious don't get lectured. Behavioral example number 5. You express attraction. You're told to be careful, like desire itself is a contaminant. And you start living like you're walking through a room full of tripwires. You don't ask, what's true? You ask, what will be punished? You become a man who edits himself in real time. And brother, that's the betrayal. Because deep down, you can feel it. They don't want you evil. They don't even want you strong. They want you safe enough to ignore. Let's strip the moral drama off this for a second. Masculinity isn't a trend. It isn't a political position. It's not something a professor invented. It's older than your language. Men are hardwired for a few things that don't care about modern etiquette. To build competence, to pursue status, to protect what's theirs, to test themselves, to compete, then improve. Not because men are better, because for most of human history, if you couldn't perform under pressure, you didn't get a second chance. The environment didn't give participation trophies. The tribe didn't reward weakness with safety. That's the biological imperative. Adapt, dominate chaos, survive. And your brain still runs those ancient operating systems. Your nervous system responds to challenge with fuel, adrenaline, focus, action. You don't feel alive when everything is smooth. You feel alive when there's a mission. Now, important, none of this means be violent. None of this means be a bully. A man without discipline is dangerous, but a man without power is not virtuous. He's just domesticated, declawed. Society loves declawed men because they're predictable. But deep down, even you can't respect a man who's never allowed to say no. Here's how it works. Not with chains, with reward and punishment. It's the same learning system you see in labs, just dressed in modern language. When you express masculine traits, directness, dominance, certainty, there's often a subtle social penalty. A raised eyebrow, a label, a tone conversation, exclusion, silent treatment, reputation damage. And your brain hates social exile. Your nervous system treats rejection like danger. The amygdala doesn't care if the threat is a predator or a group chat turning against you. Threat is threat, so you adapt. You start using apology as a survival tool, and then, this is the part most men miss, you get rewarded for the apology. They relax, the air softens, the tension drops. You're safe again. That reward is dopamine. It's relief. It's the brain learning. Submission restores belonging. So next time, you apologize faster. You qualify your opinion before anyone asks. You pre-neuter your own statement. That's not morality, that's conditioning. And over time, the psychological pattern becomes an emotional mechanism. Impulse, shame signal, self-edit, relief, repeat. You're programmed to associate your own strength with danger. The result is a man who isn't peaceful. He's anxious. Because peace is what you feel when you could enforce a boundary, but you choose restraint. Anxiety is what you feel when you can't. You can watch this happen in real time, like a slow leak. First, it shows up in your language. You start every sentence with an exit ramp. I'm sorry, but I could be wrong. No offense. Just my opinion. That's not humility. That's fear. Then it shows up in your posture. You stop taking up space. You shrink your presence. You become agreeable in advance. You laugh at jokes you don't respect. You nod while your gut says no. And then it shows up in your behavior. You avoid leadership because leadership invites criticism. You avoid flirting because desire feels criminal. You avoid confrontation because anger feels forbidden. So you become easy to be around. And inside, something starts dying. Let me give you a few scenarios, because this isn't theory, this is lived. Case study number 1. The meeting. A man, competent, calm, presents a decision. Clear, direct, no drama. Afterward, his manager pulls him aside. You were a little intense, some people felt talked over. He replays it. He didn't insult anyone, he didn't raise his voice. But he learns the lesson anyway. Certainty is punishable. So next meeting, he adds softness. He asks permission for things he already knows. He speaks like a man trying to sound smaller than his role. And people respect him less. Case study number 2. The relationship. A man tries to be the good guy. He over-explains. He compromises instantly. He apologizes for having needs. He thinks love is earned through self-erasure. But then he notices something brutal. The more he begs for approval, the less attractive he becomes. Not because anyone is evil, because attraction responds to stability, strength, direction. So he becomes resentful. He's nice out loud, bitter inside. And bitterness doesn't stay hidden forever. Case study number 3. The classroom boy. A boy can't sit still. He's not broken. He's wired for movement, challenge, friction. He gets labelled problem, disruptive, too much. So he learns, my natural energy is a defect. That boy grows into a man who confuses masculinity with shame. These are warning signs, brother. Not that you're evil, that you're being trained to apologise for your own spine. Now we talk about the system, not a smoky room conspiracy, a practical one. Modern society is built on management. Institutions don't want unpredictable men. They want compliant workers, stable consumers, quiet risk. So the cultural messaging becomes simple. Masculinity is acceptable when it's decorative. Masculinity is unacceptable when it's directive. Strength is celebrated when it's fictional. Movies, sports, history documentaries. But in real life, strength creates friction, and friction creates paperwork. So society does what it always does. It moralizes what it wants. Directness becomes aggression. Boundaries become emotional unavailability. Competitiveness becomes toxicity. Male sexuality becomes creepiness, unless it's perfectly pre-approved. And yes, we have to name the modern cultural currents that amplify this. Some parts of contemporary gender discourse, especially online, treat masculinity like a disease that must be constantly explained, restrained, apologized for. That doesn't mean women are the enemy. It doesn't mean equality is wrong. It means the cultural pendulum swung, and a lot of men got told, your power is suspicious by default. And if you want acceptance, you must perform softness like a ritual. This is how a society creates men who are good on paper and hollow in real life. A man can only split himself for so long. Eventually, you hit the collapse. It usually looks like one of three things. The explosion. You swallow your anger for years, at work, at home, everywhere. Then one day, something small happens, and you erupt like a grenade. Not because that moment was big, because it was the last straw on a mountain. Your brain chemistry floods, cortisol, adrenaline, tunnel vision. And afterward, you don't feel powerful. You feel ashamed. The numbness. You stop feeling much at all. You keep moving, keep producing, but inside you go quiet. Porn, scrolling, distractions, anything to avoid the ache of a life lived in self-censorship. The quiet exit. You stop trying. In your relationship, your career, your friendships. You tell yourself you're at peace, but it's resignation. And the worst part? You start to believe the lie that your masculine instincts are the problem. So you try to amputate them. But amputating your strength doesn't make you safe. It makes you fragile. Here's the bitter truth, brother. No one is coming to hand you permission to be a man. Not your boss, not your friends, not culture, not the comment section, not even the people who love you. And if you build your identity on external approval, you will become a professional apologizer. A man who constantly negotiates his own existence. Another bitter truth. A lot of the world benefits when you are uncertain. When you doubt yourself, you buy more, you obey more, you ask for less. You tolerate disrespect. You accept bad deals, emotional and financial and spiritual. It's a market, and your self-respect is the currency. And if you keep spending it to purchase acceptance, you'll go bankrupt. One more truth. Anger isn't evil. Anger is information. It tells you where you've been violated, where your boundaries got crossed, where your values were betrayed. The problem isn't male anger. The problem is untrained male anger and repressed male anger. One becomes violence. The other becomes depression. Both are destruction. So what do? You don't get softer. You get disciplined. Because the goal isn't to be a monster. The goal is to be a man who can't be domesticated by shame. Here's the framework. Simple, brutal, effective. 1. Name the conditioning. Start catching the auto-apology reflex. Ask yourself, did I do something wrong? Or did I just make someone uncomfortable? Am I apologizing for harm or for presence? A real apology is strength. A compulsive apology is submission. 2. Rebuild power, so restraint becomes real. Lift, train, get your sleep right, fix your posture, improve your finances, learn a skill that makes you valuable. Not to impress anyone, because competence stabilizes your nervous system. A capable man is harder to shame because he knows his worth isn't theoretical. 3. Replace approval with principles. This is where the stoic part lives. Build a code, honesty without cruelty, assertiveness without chaos, boundaries without rage, leadership without ego. Then measure yourself by that code, not by applause. 4. Practice calm assertiveness. Say what you mean, slowly. Hold eye contact. Stop over-explaining. Stop negotiating your boundaries like they're a request. If someone calls you too much, don't panic. Ask one question. Too much for what? And when you feel that old shame rising, the old programming, the old fear of being labelled, remember this. You are not toxic because you are strong. You are toxic when you are weak and pretending. A disciplined man is not a threat to good people. He's a threat to chaos. The phone, the dark room, the apology draft. But this time, you read it like it was written by a stranger. A man begging to be forgiven for existing. And you feel something new. Not rage. Clarity. You delete it. You don't send an explanation to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't shrink yourself to fit a room that profits from your silence. You stand up, shoulders back, breath slow, and you make a decision that your nervous system can finally respect. Because the truth is simple. You were never meant to apologize for masculinity. You were meant to master it.